episode 46 of the Travel Bros. We are going to talk about Puerto Rico. Contrary to some people's beliefs, is located in the United States. It is a U.S. territory. For those of you on video, I'm wearing my hockey shirt today, which maybe should have worn last week for our Toronto episode, but I'm just very backwards this week. Puerto Rico is a place I've been a few times. I haven't done any of these properties we're going to talk about, unfortunately, but I've been to Puerto Rico a lot. I think it's a really easy trip. I do like it. And Jamie, you have also been to Puerto Rico a couple times, correct?
Yeah, I've gone a few times. I've stayed at one of the properties we're going to talk about today. I've cruised there, and I've actually taken a cruise out of Puerto Rico.
Nice. Now, I think we covered this in another episode, but we'll reiterate that Puerto Rico is the busiest airport in the Caribbean, correct, Jamie?
Yes.
You've got a metric ton of flight options. Let's talk about those before we dig into some of these flights. I'm probably going to skip some of these options just because there's so many. One unique flight I want to point out, Iberia, for a lot of the years, running 2 flights a day from Madrid to San Juan, Puerto Rico. So it's an interesting one. And Google Flights over the calendar is giving me some prices at $400.
I was going to say, I remember looking at some point and thinking, man, if you could fly to Puerto Rico, you can get to Europe pretty reasonably.
Mm-hmm. So that's a hot one. The cool thing about Puerto Rico, too, that I'm looking at, you're actually starting to get some connectivity to secondary cities, which we haven't seen with a lot of these Caribbean episodes. For example, you can do San Antonio on Spirit Airlines. Not the most fun airline, but it's an option. A city like Tampa, which, sorry to everyone listening in Tampa, I'd also kind of consider like a secondary U.S. city. They've got Southwest, JetBlue, and Frontier, which that's
good connectivity.
That's wild. Nashville's got Southwest. St. Louis has Southwest. I think Baltimore looks like it's on here, which we don't normally see. I'm assuming that is also Southwest. Let me see. Oh, Baltimore's got Spirit. And then they're pulling in JetBlue and Frontier from DC. They give the little drive icon. That's what the face I made for.
Yep.
Providence, Rhode Island has connectivity on JetBlue. That's a wild one. It probably came in handy for all those people trying to do the JetBlue 30 destinations. Unfortunately, no connectivity from the West Coast. So the most West Coast you're going to get Denver on United, which is a little bit of a bummer. Minneapolis is actually only Sun Country and not Delta, which I find kind of shocking. Detroit does Delta and Spirit. You got Montreal with Air Canada, Toronto with Air Canada. You got all the major airports with their major airlines. Atlanta's got 2 Delta, 1 Frontier. Charlotte's 2 American, 1 Frontier. Miami's got JetBlue, American, and Frontier. I kind of had felt like JetBlue had left. Because, they try to do like a hub there for a while.
Yeah, I do remember that.
They seem pretty strong still. Aeromexico into Mexico City. You could fly to San Jose, Costa Rica on Avianca, Panama City on Copa, Bogota on Avianca, Medellin on JetBlue. Talk about a wild one.
Didn't even know that one was an option.
Puerto Rico to Medellin, and they also do that on Avianca. Punta Cana, you can do JetBlue, Frontier, Aerojet. So that's a pretty close one. Some of these Caribbean flights are really cheap. JetBlue will take you to St. Croix, which do yourself a favor and skip St. Croix, but here nor there. Anguilla on Inter-Caribbean Airlines. You can get to St. Bart's on Tradewind Aviation. 3 flights a day, though. Some nice connectivity. And you can largely get around a good bit of the Caribbean. You can't do St. Lucia, St. Vincent once you get into the further ones, but you definitely have a lot more flight options than most places. So with that being said, Jamie, tell me what you like the most. We've had this conversation off air, but let's bring it on air. What is the conversation, or what is the hack, so to speak, you really like about Puerto Rico versus the rest of the Caribbean?
Yeah. So a couple things. One that I really like is in the Caribbean, typically, a lot of these airports, the way they operate, they're like 9 to 5, 9 to 4. It's all morning flights, right? So no matter what day you fly in, you're taking the day off. I love Puerto Rico, and it's because it's so busy. They have flights that go in all hours of the day. So from the US, there's tons of evening flights that leave 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night and, are nonstop direct into San Juan. So what I like about that, I feel like if you're wanting a long weekend or something like that, you can say, all right, I'm going to take Friday off. I'm going to leave Thursday night. So you're already there. You have all day Friday, all day Saturday, and then take a late flight out on Sunday. So you're getting, I feel like for a long weekend trip, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. You only have to take one day off and you're really getting like a full three days, where most other Caribbean islands, like, oh, I got to take Friday off. I'm flying in the morning. So I really like that. The other thing, it's a U.S. territory, it's a U.S. It's American. I don't know what are they considered? I don't
I think
know.
it's U.S. territory.
Territory. No passport, no customs. You're breezing through, right? You land. It's just like a domestic flight. Same when you depart. TSA pre-check. Like you're cruising through. You're not wasting a lot of time, dealing with customs and that kind of thing. So I love this for a long weekend getaway, particularly from the Southeast. Quick, easy flight. Usually pretty reasonable. Quick through the airport. And the evening flights I really like.
Puerto Rico has been a territory of the United States, a status held since we acquired the island from Spain in 1898 after the Spanish-American War.
This may get us canceled, but I always thought that was going to be the 51st state, but now it's going to be like Canada or something, it sounds like, right?
Oh boy, Jamie. They vote since we've been alive. I don't remember how long ago it was, but I don't know why they would vote to be a state. I mean, they can vote. They have congressional representation.
Well, they've got some crazy great tax benefits for U.S. business owners. So, I mean, Puerto Rico's a hot spot.
Jamie, you're watching too much crypto bro content, I feel like, on Instagram.
That's it, man.
Here for tax benefits in Puerto Rico.
Well, when I was down there and talking about like one of the properties, talking about Ritz Dorado Beach, it was all these business owners were moving to buying properties in Ritz Dorado. And I'm like, oh man, I need to get in on this.
Yeah, but you also actually have to live there versus just buying a property.
Yes.
And I think if you're getting around paying federal taxes, they are going to be on top of making sure you're following all those rules.
Yes.
But here nor there. It's for our tax podcast. It does not exist. Jamie Haas, what is our first hotel?
That's a good question. Well, being I just mentioned it, I think we will kick it off with the Ritz Dorado Beach. So Ritz Dorado Beach, this is a Ritz-Carlton Reserve property. So I don't want to go too deep into it, but Ritz-Carlton Reserves are separate, complete differentiation from a regular Ritz-Carlton property. They're more loosely affiliated with Marriott versus like fully integrated like a Ritz-Carlton is. They are typically a much higher end, probably more on a Four Seasons or Four Season Plus type quality. They're typically these larger resort properties. You're not going to find like a city Ritz-Carlton Reserve. Really good service, luxury, typically some large rooms. A lot of them have residences on there. But what this property is, it's a very large 1,400 acre like nature reserve. So it's a big property. It's beachfront. Pretty much every room or suite has direct ocean access, which is really cool. Kind of a little bit of the history. This was actually originally a Rockefeller retreat. So just kind of going way back into the 50s. And they were trying to do this like eco-friendly nature resort. So there's tons of trails. There's 11 miles of trails for biking, walking, running, like meandering through the property. So that's kind of what this property is like. So massive nature, just beautiful resort. Like I've looked at this number of times. It is not a cheap property, so it prices out accordingly. But really, really beautiful. This is a place you come, you don't have to leave. You could spend, 4 or 5 nights on property, not have to go out and do anything.
Is there enough like food and dining for you to be okay for a period of time, you think?
Yeah, so they've got multiple, and I'm pulling these up. They've got multiple like fine dining experiences. So they've got some at least a Jose Andres restaurant. And I'm going to pull up some of these other ones that are listed. But yeah, there's a good number on here. What do we got? Sorry, I had these pulled up. But yeah, there's an Asian restaurant. There is international called Flor de Sal, La Cocina Gourmet. You've got like some smaller lounges and bars. And then you've got, this looks like a open air culinary kitchen that they cook right in front of you, plus some, like celebrity chef options. I'm pulling up some of these rooms because one thing I remember when I looked at this property, most rooms are fairly large. So let's go. If we just look at kind of a base room here, look at me. I believe this base room is about 900 square feet. So let me just make sure that I'm not lying to you. I'm so slow. I'm going to pull up some dates just so I can give you some room prices and options here. While I'm doing that, one nice thing about Ritz-Carlton Reserve, this is part of the STARS program. So what that means is if you're booking with us, we can get you breakfast for 2 daily, property credit, welcome amenity, early check-in, late checkout, upgrade based on availability. I was just pulling up some of the room options so we can talk through, what we're looking at here. What's really nice is even the base room here is larger than a lot of hotel suites. So base room starts at over 900 square feet, which is a massive hotel room. All these rooms have views looking out over the ocean. So I feel like this is a place that there's probably not a bad room in the house. Where some properties it's like, oh, I don't want to book the base room because it's not going to be very nice. You could book the cheapest room here. You're going to have ocean views. It's going to be massive. Like, you can't go wrong. Starting at the base room and then it goes up. You've got rooms with plunge pool suites. You've got multi-levels with big balconies. I mean, you've got all sorts of different multi-bedroom suite options. And then you get into villas and residences. So you've got, let me see what size these things go up to. I know I think you were pulling these up too. Yeah, you've got multi-bedroom villas and residences, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, all the way up to 4-bedroom rooftop penthouse with balcony and private pool, which, I mean, these things look absolutely incredible. But like I said, I feel like there's not a bad room in the house at this property. I would be thrilled even with a base room.
I mean, do you think this is the best luxury hotel in Puerto Rico?
I do. And I honestly will probably argue that even after the Four Seasons opens, this would probably be my number one choice in Puerto Rico. That's kind of my take on it. And I think that the property is a lot of it. I hold the Ritz-Carlton reserves pretty high as far as like quality standards because they're not your typical Marriott or Ritz-Carlton. Like they're an elevated experience.
You got anything else on this property? Are we jumping?
I think we can jump up to the next one. We got quite a few, so I don't think we're going to have to go too in depth.
All right. So I think since Jamie took some shots at my Four Seasons hotel, I'm going to take over on the Four Seasons. So it's Bahia Beach. It is probably going to be one of the more remote properties we're going to talk about here. You're probably a good 40 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on traffic and stuff from San Juan and from the airport. If this hotel sounds familiar to you, in recent times, it has lived forever as the St. Regis. It even has the St. Regis Golf Course, which I imagine is going to get rebranded in all of this. But the hotel has basically in progress of converting to a Four Seasons hotel. So the Four Seasons Puerto Rico is going to be 139 rooms and suites after this conversion is complete. It's situated on 483 acres of a natural reserve on Puerto Rico's northeastern coast. They have put some money into this property in some interesting places. All the pools are being reconfigured to enhance the ocean views. They're bringing in new cabanas, and the property itself has 2 miles of beachfront, which is pretty wild. They brought in the design firm of Meyer Davis to just bring this modern enhancement in vision. It is a 18-hole Arnold Palmer signature golf course. And right now they are starting to take reservations for November 2025. If you've got interest in being one of the first people into this Four Seasons property, you could do it this winter. Now, I said a lot of things that didn't really say anything. However, Jamie, I'm a little scared because let me tell you, my first problem before this, now this property is gorgeous. You're obviously getting a lot of privacy with 139 rooms and 400 acres. I mean, you've got what, one room per 4 acres, essentially. I mean, obviously it doesn't math out that way, but a lot of privacy, you're sharing 139 rooms on 2 miles of beach. Even that is fantastic. This is what scares me. When I look back at some price history of this St. Regis, when it was a St. Regis, there's a lot of nights that are 800, 1200, 1500. And so with the conversion to Four Seasons, you've got to assume we're going to be operating at a premium. And so like when I pull up for the last 12 months, the low end average price is $667. The average high end price is $1,551. So, let's just call it the average nightly rate here is $1,000. Do you think that means that we're going to be at $2,000 a night for the Four Seasons? Probably close.
So my guess is, and this is my guess, I think pre-opening we'll probably see higher prices because I don't think you'll have a good sense of demand and everything yet, which I think we've seen this with other properties, right? I think about a property both of us are staying at, Waldorf, Costa Rica. I think when they first announced their pricing was outrageous because they just didn't know, and then they kind of fine-tuned it. So I think we may see that, but I think when you compare, you've got some pretty even competition with like a Ritz Reserve. I think we're probably going to fall in line with that. So hopefully we're probably more in the 12 to 1500 and not 2000 range, but we'll see.
Okay, that's an interesting take. I think where I really start to struggle is I'm like, do I want to spend $2,000 a night in Puerto Rico? And I think the answer is no. We will see if the consensus is agreed with everybody else out there in the world, but that's where I'm like, man, we're asking a lot, I think. Let me pull something.
I was actually going to try and pull up and see if I get some pricing.
All right, you work on pricing. I am going to work on these room types. So one of the interesting benefits here, like tall hotels or big buildings, it's the max size room buildings here are going to be 3 stories. The base rooms here, Jamie, are also quite large. They're not as large as the Ritz Reserve. We're at 674 square feet, which is pretty reasonable. I think the upside to the base room here is they will allow you to book in 2 adults and 2 children.
I do like that about most Four Seasons.
Yes. And so that's the king bed. If you do the 2 queens, they'll allow 3 adults. Oh, no, sorry. 3 adults or 2 adults and 2 children as well. So that is very family friendly from that standpoint. However, Jamie, I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
I'm going to say you're right.
Okay. What's the pricing you got?
I mean, I pulled for May of next year thinking, all right, May's not going to be that busy. It's $2,000 a night. I'm going to pull now a more peak time, like a mid-February, and see what we get.
Okay. Are you doing like President's Day weekend?
Yeah, it's the exact same pricing, $19.49 a
So
night. I'm curious if that's what they. I'm going to pull one more date and see if that's what they just loaded across the board right now.
So I've got December 16th to the 20th. So theoretically before peak holiday, and base room is $22.89.
So $19.49 maybe their lowest rate at the moment.
Okay. So let's talk about another thing here. They are continuing the resort fee of $99 a night that existed when they were a St. Regis. That is before taxes. That is on all reservations. So keep that in mind. This fee includes the use of clay or hard tennis courts. So that is nice. Pickleball and basketball courts, video spin bikes. That includes your access to the golf course, driving range, and putting green, and access to all land sports equipment, which I would assume means like bicycles.
Bikes, probably.
Yeah. And then beach paddleball, equipment for non-motorized equipment for water activities. So kayaks, inflatables. So I think if you're going to use some of those things, like if you're going to play tennis, if you're going to go to the driving range, it's probably not a good deal. If you're looking to just lay around and be lazy, they're kind of taxing you pretty hefty there.
Yeah, that's a tough one. If you want to save some money,
let's save money. I do. Sure. Love
off season. Obviously, summer is hurricane season. $1,000 a night in June.
Hey.
So that becomes much more reasonable. So if you go over the summer, probably June, July, you can get in at a reasonable rate. It seems it's still expensive.
I really like some of these suites, but once again, we're just getting into the pricing. How about this though? So I have these dates, December 16th to the 20th. You've got this 674 square foot base room at $2,200 a night. Biggest suite, the Governor Oceanfront Suite, is 2,510 square feet. Looks stunning. Marble everywhere. Big open living room. You're only 4,100.
Well, if you want to go over the summer, it's $3,000.
See, we're just printing money that you're saving here, people. I will say I couldn't find the suite to guest room layout, but judging by these prices, there must be a lot of suites in this hotel because I'm only seeing like a $400 price gap between the base room and the base suite. And the base suite is 1,300 square feet. All right. And then one thing that I couldn't quite confirm in my research, Jamie, is how much they're revamping all of these restaurants. So I don't know if they're just changing the names of all these, they're going to keep the names, or if they're changing the name, it's going to be the same, restaurants here and there. Obviously, one of them is called the St. Regis Bar, so that's obviously not going to hold its own name. But some of these, like, there's a lot of really good feedback. The Club Bar, there is essentially like an outdoor bar and grill. You've got a place called Sea Grapes, which is kind of like right on the ocean, doing only lunch daily. And then there looks like to be a really fancy, like Mediterranean place doing dinner only from 6 to 10. So I do think you've got a lot of food options. The kids club is at least probably going to get rebranded, but it looks like they put a lot of time and effort into that as well. It's a huge pool. And like I said, I think what they did, the pool is kind of pushed back from the beach. I'm guessing they've just extended. I'm guessing they didn't move the whole pool. I'm guessing they've kind of extended it to be
Yeah, probably
really,
not. Yeah.
yeah, beachfront as well. Look, I think it's a great property. I think I'm really excited about it. I think I'm just going to be going during hurricane season.
I mean,
I think
that's,
if in my head I'm going, I'm going to drop 2K a night, I'm going to be in St. Bart's, or I don't know, maybe
yeah,
like
I mean, I'm with you on that.
British Virgin Islands do the Rosewood or something. But
I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I feel like the Caribbean, June to like October, hurricane season, that's the time to go. You get so much for your money.
it's
That's
great
my
as long
take.
as you don't go while a hurricane is coming during hurricane season, right?
I mean, that's what you get travel insurance for if you need it.
Sure. I mean, the good news about hurricanes, though, right, is like if you have a decent cancellation window, you can usually know before you have to for a trip. It is really cool that Four Seasons is coming here. And I also think we didn't even have this listed. There's so many new hotels kind of on the way too. And something we had talked about in another episode that I think we totally forgot about when we were like warming up for this episode, Jamie. There is a Mandarin Oriental also headed to Puerto Rico.
I did not know that.
Yeah, we talked about it in a different episode, I want to say, for some reason, but it's going to open in 2028. From what I have read, they have spent almost, or they are in the process of spending, it is almost $2 billion building this property. Yes. It's 106 rooms that are all ocean view, 83 private villas, and 200 residents.
Okay, I was going to say that seems ridiculous for that many hotel rooms, but you throw the number of residences in there, that makes more sense.
Yeah, but I guess when I do say, like, I think there's going to be a time where $2,000 might unfortunately just be the standard,
Yeah.
brand. I think the cool thing about the Mandarin Oriental coming in, though, and I think with the St. Regis converting to the Four Seasons, and then I think it's going to really require the Ritz, Four Seasons, and this Mandarin to really keep their, they're not going to be able to just slack on keeping renovations up. They're going to have really up staff. So I think as a consumer, I think it will be very exciting. But the Mandarin Oriental kind of has some secret strong properties in the Caribbean. And I'm pretty excited this one. 2028 is a bit far, but as long as things go to plan there, that will be very cool. What is your next property, Jamie Haas?
This is one that I've stayed at, and I really like this property. Kind of shifting away from these like massive nature reserves, going more in the city. So I'm going to talk about La Concha Resort. This is on Ashford Avenue, like in the Condado area. So kind of like I think you're going to talk about a hotel here too, but it's a more happening area. There's a lot of restaurants and bars and things that you can walk to. So this is a very walkable hotel. It is on the beach. When you look at this property, it's really unique. It was built back in the 50s, and the architecture really kind of reflects that time period. It was designed by Puerto Rican architects. And one of their like really unique features is the restaurant. It's called La Perla. It is shaped like a seashell. So if you ever look, what I'm talking about?
It looks cool.
It's a really cool look. The architecture is really cool. So it's like this big seashell, which is the roof, and the restaurant's underneath it. It looks out over the ocean. So just really cool architecture, really cool vibe. So that in itself is cool. This property just finished a renovation. So they just spent $80 million renovating this property. So all the rooms are really recently refreshed. It used to be a Renaissance. It now transitioned to Autograph Collection. So this is still under Marriott. This is a property that we can get you, breakfast for two daily. Sometimes there's a property credit we can add on there, a welcome amenity, early upgrade, or early check-in, late checkout upgrade based on availability. So we can get you some added benefits here. One thing I really like about this property is it's a larger property. It's not huge like space-wise, but it's 483 rooms and 2 different towers. And 226 of them are suites. So suites at this property are very reasonably priced. I would say this is probably one of the more reasonably priced hotels we look at, and you can regularly find suites in like the $500 range. So that's kind of nice. So you can get a lot for your money here. Location's really good. Like I said, it's 2 separate towers. So it's the original tower, which is where the the cool architecture is. And then there's a newer tower connected to it that added, probably a couple hundred rooms when they built that tower.
Really like it's kind of like very I'm sure this has been done intentionally, but it has a very like vintage beachy feel to like it almost like when I just look at like still photos of the hotel, it's like very like Hilton Head Myrtle Beach 1985 is
It's
kind of
retro. I think it's definitely got a
yeah,
retro vibe to it.
but not in a bad way. It's like a
Yeah, I would agree.
new intentionally retro. And then I think too like the one of the towers is called the Sweet Tower and it's got the indoor outdoor atrium
Yeah, that's where I
style
stayed
where,
in.
yeah, it's got like the big glass. I don't know. That makes me feel very 80s too. So I'm glad they didn't like just take the 80s architecture and try and cram like a very modern hotel into it.
Yeah, it's really nice. And like I said, I like the location, and we're going to talk about a couple properties here. So while we're on this one, I'm going to shout out a couple restaurants that I like next, like really close walking distance. So
Okay.
almost right across the street, there's this place called Pinky's. It is more like a counter service walk-up window. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I know this is a very popular breakfast spot. So it looks like they have really good coffee, but they have some different sandwiches, which were amazing. So really good bread. I think I got like a ham, cheese, egg sandwich and it's pressed. So it's almost like a Cuban sandwich, but I remember that being really amazing. And then the other one, Puerto Rico's known for their mofongo. I'm not sure if you're a mofongo eater or not, but I really enjoy it.
Isn't
And
it
there's,
mofongo? Like
I don't,
I think it's
it's how you spell
mofongo.
it, mofongo. I may be saying it wrong, but there's a restaurant called Orozco's. It is like a block or two up the street. And it is some of the best mofongo that I've ever had. Um, and I tried it at quite a few places while I was there. So if you're staying here, it's worth checking out, you know, going up the street and getting this food.
My
And I
daughter
want to,
watches this PBS show called Alma's Way.
okay. And they have mofongo.
She's Puerto Rican living in the Bronx, but she always
Okay.
says mofongo. So anyway, I don't know. I could be wrong.
I
Continue.
want to make sure in this renovation that they did not close the casino. I remember there being a casino here that I enjoyed. So let's take a look. I'm just making sure it didn't
Inside
close.
baseball, an inside baseball tip on this hotel, and it doesn't really change or matter in any way, but the owner of this property also is the owner of the Four Seasons. So if spending
Oh,
$2,000 a
interesting.
night is extremely offensive to you, and you're like, I will never do that in my whole life, you can just stay at La Concha and basically pretend you're at the Four Seasons. Same property management, same owner. So, it's close enough.
Looks like Casino Del Mar is still there. So if you like to gamble, they do have a casino attached right to the hotel. So you've got good dining right on the beach. Got some nice pools here that overlook the ocean. There are multiple pools because it was built as like multiple towers. So each tower kind of has its own pool area. Beach was, I mean, for being in the city, it's a nice beach area right out front. So if you're looking to be more in the center of the action versus like a laid back, Ritz Reserve or Four Seasons, like this is a good spot.
Yeah, and part of the cool thing too is the beach seems to be protected by a seawall. So you're probably okay with some little kids in the water versus some other places as well. Now, if you you have stayed here, Jamie, I guess is a better way to put it. Are you staying here because you can kind of like go out to the city and do things, or like, would it be okay if you wanted to just stay here and eat here? Would you be fine enough?
I mean, I would, the food's so good in Puerto Rico. Like I would be going out and trying some of the other restaurants and stuff. I don't know that this is a place that I would come for a week, but we're talking about like
Okay.
a long 3-night weekend or something like that. I think this would be a great spot to, if you want to do some of the stuff in El San Juan. It's a quick, I mean, you walk there. We did walk there and ran there while we were there, but it's a quick cab ride. I mean, 5 minutes into like Old San Juan, do the forts and stuff like that. So it's a good location for doing things like that. If you want the nightlife, if you wanted to spend a week in Puerto Rico, I think a good one would be, split some time either here or one of the other hotels we talk about, more in the city, and then, 3 or 4 nights out at one of these other properties that you can relax and not have to leave and do anything.
Okay.
I think we're going to go right next door to your property, if that's what you're on to next.
Let's get in the car and drive down the street. We're literally down the street here, aren't we? We are going to head over to the Condado Vanderbilt Hotel, which is loading. I really like this hotel. I think more so than any of the ones that we've talked about has much more of a European feel to it. Just the way it is laid out. It's got the big, I don't know, like it's got the umbrellas, on the balcony and things
Yep.
as well here. I'm sure you can guess this by the name. This building was built in 1919 by Frederick William Vanderbilt, scion of the wealthiest family in America at the time and one of the most influential people in the country. He purchased the land and built this original building. Obviously, it is very far from being a old 1919 hotel. It was renovated in 2018. Like most of these hotels you're going to find around in this country. This beach area is far bigger than yours, like it looks like in space wise, but then the seawall really juts out. So I think you lose some of I almost think the La Concha beach is a little bit of a better option than where I am, even though we're talking down the street from each other. Let me pull one thing up. So our base rooms here, I think this is another thing I'm going to fault this place, which you're just going to run into this from it being a old property, Jamie. You're in the Spanish Revival building. Your base rooms are 295 square feet, which it hurts a little bit, I got to say. You do get a Samsung, like the nice fancy Samsung like frame, the really thin TVs
Yep.
in these rooms, along with some other things. But when I look at some of the prices and you're $350 a night before taxes and fees and you're in 295 square feet, it's like, okay, we could be doing a lot better than that. If you step up into the Tower City King views, which are obviously facing the wrong way from your beach, you get to go to 450 square feet and it's only about $15 more a night. And then if you add another $15 a night, so if you're $50 over a base room, you're 480 square feet overlooking the beach. Bathroom layouts in here, I don't love either, but let me get to some of the good stuff. Once you start, if you've got the budget, as I've nitpicked some of these rooms, if you start stepping into some of these suites, I think you have a much more improved experience. The Biltmore Ocean View Suite, I think, is kind of their sweet spot. It's 650 square feet. It is an actual true suite. And you've got a living room with some big French windows that kind of like overlook. So you can sit on the couch, you can watch TV. You got a nice view of the ocean. And then the the bedroom door is all the way towards the front. So you have some good separation of living and bedroom. My one nitpick I have with this room is you have to go through the bedroom to get to the bathroom. They don't at least have like a separate outside door. So if you
Yep.
want to have guests and stuff over, that is always maybe a little awkward. But the price for that suite at 650 square feet is only $500. So when you consider when you're at a 350 base room for $150, you're getting 3 times the space and an ocean view in a, true suite, especially like if you have a kid, you can get, you stick your kid outside and such. Now, if you want to spend an extra $50 a night, you're going to move into the Commodore City View Suites, where I think is the end of the reasonable price suites. However,
Yeah, that seems
a
pretty reasonable.
you do get a big balcony in this suite, and then you kind of have the same living and bathroom setup. The way this one is formatted, you actually do get a public door into the bathroom side, which is kind of cool there. I do like that. But man, when you start wanting to get into some of these other suites, now, if you're coming with a larger group and you're looking at some rooms, they've got a really cool 2-bedroom suite that's ocean view, $948 a night. They don't give square footage on that, which I find kind of weird. Eyeballing their 3D models versus some of the others, you get a balcony here. You get 2 full baths, which is pretty awesome. One of the bedrooms only has a shower. One has a tub and shower. So keep that in mind. You got a little kitchenette. I'm going to guess it's maybe like 1,600 square feet. And that's only $1,000 a night. So if you got 2 people, that's okay. But then some of the other suites, the penthouse and some things get a little $3,800. And I'm like, I feel like if I'm going to spend $3,800 a night, I'm going to go stay somewhere else. No offense to the Condado Vanderbilt Hotel. And this is actually also in the Hotel Chains program, which is like independent hotels that are all together. You kind of cover this, I think, from the beginning. I think it is a amazing location wise. I think like where you want to be in the property. I think there's a restaurant called 19, which is in tribute to the originality. And it says a lot of the food comes very locally It's like local farm grown. They say it's flavor forward, which I've never been to a flavor backward restaurant, but I imagine that would be unfortunate. There's also a chain in this hotel, STK restaurant, which is like a pretty well known steakhouse. They have them in Vegas, Beverly Hills, I think Miami, right? They're
Yeah.
pretty well renowned. And then they've got a OLA oceanfront restaurant in here, which that's where I said is kind of you've got the European beach club vibe there. There's a restaurant called Tacos in Tequila, and I think you can probably guess what is available to eat there. And then they have a VC lounge, which kind of looks like a low key nightclub. And then they
Okay.
have a wine and cognac bar. So it's not something you see every day. And then they have another bar in that 19. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. They also have a cigar lounge. So I think it kind of lacks a little bit on like the amenities. You're not going to get as much stuff as the Ritz Reserve. You're not going to get the privacy and some of those things. But they have a lot of stuff there. And then Jamie, booking here, what are we getting for this property if you would like to book with us here?
Yeah, so this is a virtuoso property. So if you book here, we can get you breakfast for 2 daily, $100 property credit, welcome amenity of some sort, upgrade early check-in, late checkout based on availability. So some good value there.
Perfect. And like I did mention, this hotel has been pretty recently renovated and the pricing's pretty nice. If you need to be in the vicinity of San Juan and you're not trying to be like way out in privacy, I think it's a good pick. I think if you really, really want a beach experience, I think I would lean a little bit more towards Jamie's property, but I also think if you want a little bit more of an adult experience, this hotel might edge out it's like more like grown up infinity pools. Like there's nothing super kid. I don't think it's kid unfriendly, but like when I look at it, it's very like there's like really shallow infinity pools by the ocean with lounge chairs and things. It's not really like, hey, there's no splash pad, water park, or things like that on the kid side of business. And then, like I said, you've got things like cigar lounges and things. Weirdly, some of these suites, Jamie, I'm going to try and I might shoot you a picture of this, or I'm going to try and put it in the Spotify or Apple Podcast website. Some of the suites have like sheep statues in them.
You say sheep?
It's like a sheep.
Okay.
I think sheep have significance to Puerto Rico. At least
It's interesting.
I'm culturally unaware if they are, but it's like these. I don't know, but it's like big. It's not like it's like a full size sheep
Okay.
statue. I'm gonna do my best effort to kind of sneak that into the content so you can check that out. The cigar lounge looks very cigar-y. So if you're into that, that looks like a lot of fun. What's our next property, Jamie Haas?
So next we are going to go to the Fairmont El San Juan. And I'm just thinking, I feel like the late 50s was like a boom time for Puerto Rico. I'm going to try and read up on some of this history because pretty fascinating that a lot of these properties were built around the same time by all these, rich families and things like that. So Fairmont El San Juan was also built in the late 50s by Pan Am Airways. It was originally built to host flight crews and then early jet-setting visitors arriving into Puerto Rico. So this is again an older property. It's been recently renovated. I think back in 2018 it reopened. Post-hurricane, post-renovation. This property has changed brands, I would say, more than most properties on the island. It was an Intercontinental at one point. It has been part of the Hilton brand, and it had turned into a Fairmont, which is part of Accor in 2022. So this hotel's got about 388 rooms. This looks like, when you look at this property, it is like a true resort, right? It's got some space. It's got pools, fitness center. It's got a beach club with, chairs and loungers and things like that. Multiple outdoor pools. It's on Isla Verde Beach, so tons of really beautiful beach frontage. It's fairly removed from, a lot of like goings on like the last couple of hotels. It is still kind of connected to the development, but is very far outside the city. So if you're looking for a lot going on outside the hotel, this probably isn't the best location. This would be more a, hey, come stay here. If you're going somewhere, you're probably going to be taking a cab to go out and adventure. It's fairly reasonably priced. I'm seeing rooms in the 300 plus range next month. So you can definitely get some decent value for your money here. As with some of these other properties, older properties, the rooms are not massive. You're in the base room in the 300-ish square foot range and go up from there into some of the different rooms and suite options. I feel like the remodel's nice. I like a light, like white and blue color scheme in beachy hotels. So I think they did a really nice job kind of with the color schemes. It's got, either hardwood floors or blue carpeting. Views are nice, so you can look out, at the beach, the ocean, things like that. So I think they did a really good job, design wise with the renovation. I'm
Yeah,
looking at
all
some
the
go ahead.
public and common space also looks really nice. Like the pools seem well taken care of, like the big ballrooms and the hallways you walk through. Like they all seem to have like flowers, good decoration. Like they really have hit all the touches, and the beach looks pretty, and the pools are very large as well. The building is
Yeah.
just kind of ugly itself.
Yeah, it's probably just, old big hotel.
Hmm.
The one restaurant, if this is like the outside, I would say like beach bar and grill.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the exact name of it, but the pictures look really nice. It looks out over the pool and the beach. Really nice, like well done outdoor space. So I think this is a really good option if you're looking for a beach resorty type stay. This kind of checks those boxes where our last two hotels are, I would say, more city beach hotels, a lot more going on around it, not necessarily resort amenities. This place is going to give you the resort amenities at a fairly reasonable price if you don't want to do a Four Seasons or a Ritz Reserve, something like that. And being part of Accor, this is a property that we have similar Accor preferred benefits. And they're actually running a fourth night free promo right now. So it prices out pretty well. If you're booking with us, we can get you breakfast for two daily, $100 property credit, upgrade, early check-in, late checkout based on availability. So some good pricing and some good value with the added benefits.
Awesome. One really cool thing I like about this hotel too, Jamie, I don't know if you saw in your research, is the fitness center is its own 2-story building.
I did not see that. I did see
Yeah.
the outdoor space it has, which looks really cool.
So it's like separated. So it's like you've got the hotel, then you've got the pools, then you've got like a full 2-story fitness center. And then not only that, the roof itself
I
has
do see
like
it now.
yeah, it's like padded with like kettlebells. It's got those like arm ladders, a lot of the cool, I don't know, like what I would consider probably like one of the more modern hip gyms. It's got like one of those soft flours.
This is a nice
I don't know,
fitness
out
center.
in gyms is pretty unique, so that kind of gets me excited.
Yeah, I like this out of all the properties, I know I really like La Concha location wise, but like dollar for dollar, if I was going to go down and want to enjoy the beach, I think this is a good option price wise and what like value for your dollar.
Probably, especially, I mean, when you consider if the Four Seasons doesn't adjust down ever from $2,000 a night, I mean, you're obviously not getting the Four Seasons here, but I think you're gonna get better value than the price difference between the two.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're closer to the airport, so you're reducing a lot of those travel costs.
It does look like they have a
And
casino here as well, so
I was gonna
you
say,
can win enough money to pay for your stay.
I was about to hit you with that too. I was like, they also have a little casino. I couldn't tell. I was like looking through pictures. Is it just slots though? I don't see any table game action here.
The picture on their website shows craps, so I'm guessing they at least have
Okay.
some tables.
They probably do. It is kind of cool. So their casino is a Foxwoods casino.
I did read that somewhere, actually, now that you say that. So potentially, if you're a gambler, they probably will give you some comp offers if you want to come back.
Yeah.
Just gamble enough.
And if you're not aware, Foxwoods is like a really popular Connecticut casino. Like it's a very big,
Yeah, it's one of the largest in the
old
world.
school. Yeah. I actually have not been there,
I
but
haven't either.
I'd like to go one day. Perfect. Fairmont, I kind of had dismissed it originally, but I think when you consider some of the pricing, and I just, like I said, like when I was looking through the gym and the pool and some of these common spaces, they just did so well putting a lot of that stuff together.
Yeah, and I'll throw this out just because I know we didn't do comparisons in all of them, but I was just before looking at what pricing was. I pulled
Uh-huh.
October 21st through the 25th, right? So, 3 weeks from now, four nights, all in base. This base room, which is showing base room, 445 square feet, is $1,635 all in, taxes, fees, everything. So you're at like $400 a night all in, with breakfast, with property credit. That to me is a really reasonable long weekend getaway for what you get.
I agree. That's hard to be upset about.
You can get like 18 hours at the Four Seasons for that.
Oh boy. Oh yeah. It looks like I can confirm we got table games going on. I see some roulette tables, some other stuff there. Casinos are not my favorite sometimes in hotels, but I found in Puerto Rico, especially the few hotels I've stayed at with casinos, they're separate. It's like you have a lobby, it's a regular hotel,
Yeah,
and then there's like doors with an
a door
entrance
off.
to
Yep.
a casino. So don't think it's like a Vegas style where you got to like fight your way through the casino every day you're there. The cabanas and some of the things, they have a sun club. It looks like they call it this property too. And some of these cabanas look sweet. So if you're a pool person as well, I think I can shoot you a little video I found. It's kind of spinning around pretty fast, but
Yeah.
these look nice. It looks
Yeah,
fun.
there's some cool rooms too. I was just like, there's a oceanside villa, terrace room, ground level, whirlpool bathtub. I mean, $2,500 for 4 nights. This is a big room. It's like, almost 600 square feet. It's pretty cool looking. So
Okay.
there's some neat options. You could do a 2-bedroom suite, a true 2-bedroom suite. Obviously, you're getting up more expensive here, but 6,700 for 4 nights for a true 2-bedroom suite. It's gets pricey, but
Does it have
you're
the
in
square
the.
footage on that? Or is it
It is about 1,400 square feet.
okay?
So, I mean, you're getting up to some decent space for the cost of a base room at, Four Seasons or Ritz Carlton, something like that. So that's
Sure.
pretty.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not a property I was expecting to really get super excited about, but the more I kind of preview around, I think they've just done such a good job with the grounds. And then you mix it where, like, I think they have a great beach.
Yeah, the beach there looks really nice. And similar to the Four Seasons, it says 2 miles of beach. Obviously, it's not all their beach, but you've got a nice 2-mile stretch of beach if you want, like going out for a walk on the beach.
And I think something else to consider too is we frame this as like a, resort standalone property, but also you're not that far from San Juan here. It's
15
15
minutes.
minute in an Uber to Old Town. So like you definitely could do your resort thing and then go do some city stuff at this property as well. All right, Jamie, I'm going to hit you with my honorable mention,
Ooh, okay.
which interestingly is right down the street from this property. It is the Hyatt Centric San Juan Isla Verde. It is blocks from this other property. We don't know a lot about it. I don't have an opening date. I don't have a ton of info. The few photos that I've been able to see are pretty nice. Hyatt Centrics are kind of a hard brand to really nail down. A lot of balcony rooms that look big. There's a full on splash pad for the kids. The pool's definitely not nearly as exciting as what you saw at the Fairmont, but I think it's pretty functional. The building and parts of it kind of looks very like old hotel-y. It looks like it used to just be an independent hotel. Like when I look at like Google on Street View, I found the old hotel name was the Verdonza Hotel, it looks like,
Okay.
that they've done a conversion of. So it's unfortunately not like a completely new build. It's a little far from the beach too. Like it looks kind of crammed into the area. So it's offset. The Fairmont is closer to the beach. This is like on the block behind. And it is very close to the airport, but I wanted to give a shout, at least to that being built or converted, however you want to frame it, is a new option that is
And I
going
would
to be
say,
opening.
let's keep our fingers crossed that this joins Hyatt Privé. That'd be a nice option.
Yeah. So here's some perspective. They're saying it's a block from the sand, which it's a big block. It's a New York City block over here, definitely generously. I guess this is an interesting note. It will come with access to the Vivo Beach Club. So you will have a
Okay.
way that it's connected, and it's going to have an on-site microbrewery. However, when you talk about some of these renovations and new builds we have, it is only a $25 million enhancement renovation project. So I don't think you should expect the world from this. A cool note, it is the first Hyatt-centric in the Caribbean. So we're bringing this into the Caribbean here.
Okay.
It is a 223 key hotel. So it's got some decent size there as well. And then, Jamie, I think I was hoping you could talk about there is another Ritz Carlton in Puerto Rico that has been closed for 10 years, but
Yeah, pretty close to it.
been spending they have been spending some big money. Can you tell us about it?
All right. We're going to throw this in honorable mention just because we don't have a lot of necessarily facts about it. It hasn't been open since before the hurricane hit back in 2017. So after Hurricane Maria, it closed down. It has been closed since then. So, like I said, we know it's coming. It's supposed to open sometime late this year. So fingers crossed that actually happens. This is one that back when I went it was actually about 10 years ago, the last time when I stayed at La Concha, this was one that I had looked at the time. I chose La Concha based on location, but this looked like a really nice option as well. Hopefully, when it comes back, it's going to be fully renovated. I'm a big Ritz Carlton fan. It was at the time a 400 plus room property, so I imagine it'll come back about the same. It'll probably have a casino, I imagine, multiple pools. It is on the beach, so on Isla Verde Beach, I believe. Again, same as the Fairmont, basically. So same 2 mile stretch of sandy beach. So again, fingers crossed it's going to open. When it does, this will be a Stars property, so we'll be able to get you breakfast for two daily, the property credit, welcome amenity, upgrade, early check-in, late checkout based on availability. So fingers crossed that this thing gets back open and we get another nice luxury property option in San Juan.
Perfect. I had an article on it and I can't find it now, but the amount of money they were spending is insane. When I broke it down by room, they're spending $300,000 per key in the renovation of this hotel, which
That's pretty wild.
yeah. Oh yeah. So it's like $125 million renovation they put into this place. I'm guessing it's not going to be open in 2025 just by the fact that they're not taking reservations still.
That's my guess.
But it looks like they're at least trying to bring this place back. So that is nice. And then the real bummer about this property when I was doing research on it as well, Jamie, it opened the year that hurricane hit. So it was essentially a brand new hotel that got crushed by this hurricane and has struggled to reopen. Base rooms were 400 square feet. I imagine they're not doing that much to change that. So it's a reasonable size. Hopefully, maybe we'll revisit the Caribbean or Puerto Rico in 2026. We can talk about more details on that. Okay. However, Jamie, so we're done with the travel portion of our podcast. And when you were talking about Puerto Rico in the 1950s, a lot happened in the 1950s, Jamie. This may be the more depressing era of our episode. So apparently there was a lot of strife starting in 1950. There was a huge nationalist uprising. It got so out of hand, the United States dropped bombs on the island of Puerto Rico in 1950. Wow. Yes.
That's pretty wild. I did not know that.
Yes. In 1950, there was a nationalist organization that declared independence from the United States, and we answered that independence claim with violence and war, which, some people would say is not shocking in American history. This is crazy. Apparently, there was a U.S. Capitol shooting in 1954. There was a huge protest of these Puerto Rican nationalists. They opened fire on U.S. House Representative, wounding 5 congressmen. So this whole thing seems, I didn't know any of this going on. Here's a really interesting fact, though. Between 1950 and 1960, 470,000 people left the island and moved to the mainland United States, which accounted at the time for 21% of the island's population. Most of them moving into New York City, which, Spanish Harlem and whatnot. But it looks like through all of this strife, things persevered and calmed down. And then a lot of people came and built hotels on old pineapple fields.
The ultra rich came in and built it up.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I'm seeing. But, I also have to imagine a lot of these farms were probably going to struggle with, they lost 20% of their workforce, right? So, that probably also made things complicated. It does seem like there was, obviously, I think before this revolution as well, like I found some old videos of people filming Puerto Rico in the 50s. And it does seem like there was already like beach vacations and some of that stuff happening. I'm sure it just calmed down and kind of took a slow turn during this whole strife and issue. But it was pretty interesting. First off, I had no idea the U.S. had ever bombed Puerto Rico. So
that I had no idea.
News to me. Anyway, obviously, talking about traveling and hotels, but I thought it was an interesting intersection of life because you're like, oh, what's going on in Puerto Rico in the night?
Yeah, now we know.
And I was like, oh, let me check it out. And I was like, well, this is a little wild, but I don't know. I always have a lot of fun in San Juan. I haven't been since pre-COVID, and I've started making my map. I mark restaurants, the places I go, so I don't have a ton of top tips, but if you start walking around Old Town, the historic part of San Juan, A, I think it's really beautiful. B, I think the fort at the end of the island is really cool. And I've never really had a bad meal in Puerto Rico, to be honest.
Food's so good. The rainforest is really nice. Like if you're into hiking and stuff, we did a rainforest hike. We were swimming in waterfalls. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Anyway, just I didn't realize there was so much political strife in the 50s in Puerto Rico. I'm definitely going to read more. I found some cool YouTube videos, it seems like, that kind of deep dive into it. So I'm definitely going to get on top of that. But man, I don't know. Just some of the things I was just reading in notes, I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's some pretty
But
fascinating history.
yeah, I didn't realize that was like the big migration of people out of Puerto Rico as well. Anyway, if you'd like to book a hotel with us, any of these hotels anywhere in the world, travelbrospod.com/book with us. It's links in most of these bios. Thank you so much for listening. And we're getting longer and longer listenership on every episode. It seems like we've been trending up with hours listened and some tune-ins as well. So we do appreciate it, guys. Sometimes I don't know why anyone would listen to us, but I'm glad you do. And we will talk to you next week.
See you
Later.
next week.